Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cindy Borden, and I'm the Director of Training and Technical Assistance for the National Coalition for Homeless Veterans, Nchb, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to day 2 of our annual conference. Before we begin, I'd like to take a minute to thank some of our sponsors who helped make this event happen. And these folks are our sponsors who are also every day out on the front lines doing this hard work. So a special thank you to Swords to Plowshares, Cantwell Anderson Collaborate Communities, American GI Forum National Veterans Outreach Program, Black Veterans for Social Justice, Veterans Inc., Maryland Center for Education and Training, Family and Community Services, Veterans Village of San Diego, Spokane County Regional Veterans Services, or WDVA, Nation's Finest, Virginia Beach Community Development Corporation, Jericho Project, and Asheville Buncombe Community Christian Ministry, or ABCCM. Thank you all for sponsoring our event and for all the work you do every day. Our theme for today is connecting veterans to employment, income, and support. We all know that to end veteran homelessness, housing is essential. But for many veterans who are at risk of or experiencing homelessness, housing is simply not enough. They need access to income through employment or benefits and supportive services that is essential for ensuring long-term stability. As part of today's theme, we're going to be highlighting 3 resources from the National Center for Homelessness Among Veterans on social media throughout the day. Those resources include both an article and an infographic on financial strain, mental illness, and homelessness, and also a link to the center's resources on financial literacy. So please make sure you look out for those resources. As we move into today, we would like to thank the Bob Woodruff Foundation for understanding the important connection between employment, income, and supportive services to ending veteran homelessness, and for sponsoring today's events. Speaking on behalf of the Bob Woodruff Foundation is Sam Holmes, Senior Program Officer.
Good morning from beautiful Northern California. My name is Sam Holmes, and I'm a Senior Program Officer at the Bob Woodruff Foundation. On behalf of everyone at the Foundation, thank you all so much for taking the time to be here today to learn alongside this amazing coalition. The Bob Woodruff Foundation was founded in 2006 after our namesake Bob Woodruff was injured in an IED blast while covering the war in Iraq for ABC World News Tonight. Bob's experience recovering from his wounds exposed the Woodruffs to the families of service members impacted by war. It was this experience that inspired the Woodruffs to lend their name and their time to the creation of our mission. Most people know us for our grants to programs serving veterans, service members, and their families. But we also support a network of communities working collaboratively to ensure that veterans and their families have access to a supportive system once they return home. Our Got Your Six network includes over 100 local partners and provides feedback to our team on the urgent and emerging needs in American communities. Equipped with this understanding of unique needs in communities, driven by the experience of our veteran service members and their families, and grounded in evidence-based practices, BWF finds, funds, and shapes and accelerates solutions to address social determinants of health. Prior to the pandemic, 60% of our local partner communities reported that many or all veterans served present with housing needs, but only 23% of communities have the capacity to completely address related issues. Supported by our partners like the NFL, Wells Fargo Foundation, and KKR, our team works with communities to shape grants that complement federally funded programs and provides resources to close the gap between capacity and need. With a generous donation from Craig Newmark Philanthropy, our Leaders Eat Last series explores how food security impacts military and veteran families, and how communities are collaboratively addressing hunger and its social determinants. It is through these partnerships, both public and private, with expert researchers, practitioners, and advocates, we hope to move the needle to make sure that no matter where a veteran returns home to, no matter the condition they come home in, and no matter the color of their skin, how they identify, and what they believe, every one of us who raised their right hand to support and defend the Constitution has the resources to thrive after service. As a veteran myself who has known the stress of being unsure where to sleep at night, spent months sleeping on couches, on cars, and on floors, thank you all for the work that you do, and I wish you all well in your important efforts to end veteran homelessness as we know it.
Thank you, Sam, and the Bob Woodruff Foundation. It is now my honor to introduce our next speaker. Mr. James D. Rodriguez is the Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy within the Department of Labor's Veterans Employment and Training Service, responsible for preparing America's veterans, service members, and their spouses for meaningful careers. Mr. Rodriguez is an executive leader and retired Marine with over 30 years as a leader in the U.S. government, corporate sector, and United States Marine Corps.
Well, thank you, Cindy. I'm humbled to be able to participate in the National Coalition for Homeless Veterans Annual Conference. I'd also like to thank Catherine Monet, board members, and all of the good folks at NCHB for giving me the opportunity to speak with you. I also want to recognize NCHB's efforts to organize this virtual conference and the ongoing service to our nation's veterans during these very challenging times. NCHB has an impressive agenda with a fantastic list of subject matter experts participating in this conference, whom understand the value of life-changing work being accomplished through collective efforts. When I think about all of the folks participating in this annual conference, it makes me proud to know how many of you are Department of Labor grantees and staff. And I truly appreciate your dedicated support of Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program grants and the great work of the DVOPs and Leavers and other staff at our American Job Centers nationwide. We at DOL, our state workforce staff, and grantees support NCHB in its mission and are committed to ending veteran homelessness. I also appreciate our teammates in the Veterans Administration, in the continuum of care, and in the hundreds of community-based and veteran service organizations across the country. As we're all here together in this virtual space, I'd like to say a few words about partnerships. We all know that ending veteran homelessness is a collaborative effort. And from the services we provide in our communities to the commitment we make as a nation, it takes all of us working together. It takes multiple agencies and staff to meet the individual needs of a veteran whom is experiencing homelessness, to get them sheltered and safe quickly, and then to find stable and sustainable housing moving forward, to meet their needs for food, clothing, hygiene, medical and mental health care, to meet their needs for immediate income, and to support their goal of gaining skills and credentials on the way to a career in which they can grow and thrive, to create a pattern of stability and success in every aspect of a veteran's life. No one agency can meet every one of our veterans' needs as they transition from homelessness to housing and a rewarding career. It's our ability to work together that lines up each of these pieces and meets the unique needs of each veteran experiencing homelessness. I recently heard a compelling example of how collaborative partnerships assisted a veteran in Montana. A recently incarcerated veteran, who's also a recovering addict, found himself homeless with no income. He was referred to an HVRP grantee in Montana, who was also a VA Supportive Services for Veterans Families grantee. This grantee is an active part of a community of service providers, and they work closely with the American Job Centers. They also work closely with our state-level staff at DOL, and they work with not-for-profits in their community, and they work closely with the Community Employment Coordinator at the Veterans Health Administration. Now, even with the challenges this veteran was facing, because of these partnerships, the grantee was able to bring to bear all of the resources needed to help this veteran succeed. They used resources from the VA, including SSVF, to get the veteran to a good housing situation. They used their connections with their workforce partners to help the veteran access training. And finally, they used their close ties to the business community to help the veteran find a career opportunity that was a fit for his skills, interests, and goals. Because of that work, the work of a community of partners, that veteran is now housed and employed as a chef at a 5-star restaurant. Through his own hard work and the support he was provided, the veteran now gives back to his community as a volunteer to assist others who have had similar struggles. This veteran was given the support he needed to get housed, get back to work, and get back to supporting the economy and his community. We know that these partnerships take effort, and building these relationships takes time, thoughtfulness, and commitment. And we all know it takes a lot of meetings, unfortunately, as well. I also know that these partnerships have been even more difficult to build and sustain over the last 18 months. The pandemic made it harder for us to serve veterans, harder for us to reach out to them and meet them where they are. It has been a struggle to meet with and serve our employer partners. The pandemic also made it harder to maintain the strong partnerships we're accustomed to and rely on. And some of our agencies had to close temporarily, and others had to change the way they did business. In many cases, it's been harder to access the partner services that are so important to the success of our veterans we serve. With all those challenges in mind, as we come together for one more vital conference, I'd like to ask all of you to do a couple of things. First, please take a moment today, during the conference or after, to show your appreciation for your partners. You know what they've been up against. You know the challenges they've faced. And you also know better than most that the last 18 months have made a very hard job much harder. So please take a moment to show your gratitude to each other. And I want you to do something even more difficult, something I think most of us don't do nearly often enough. I want you to appreciate yourself, your own hard work, and the effort and time and concern that you give on behalf of our nation's veterans, the resilience you've shown, the challenges and uncertainty you've faced and overcome all through the pandemic. And I hope you appreciate yourself, because the entire DOL Vets team and I mostly certainly do. And please know how grateful I am to every one of you for the work that you do daily. It's because all of you, with the support of Nchb, that for more than 3 decades, we've built and maintained a national movement to end veteran homelessness. It's because of our work together that veteran homelessness has been cut in half over the last decade. It's because of your shared commitment and focus that a DOL initiative like HVRP continues to grow. In 1998, HVRP started with $3 million budget. In fiscal year 2020, the department awarded $55 million to over 150 HVRP grantees nationwide. And these grantees provided service to over 17,000 veterans and placed 53% of participants in jobs making an average of more than $15 an hour. And finally, it's the work that all of you will continue to do together that will ensure we do more than just recover from the pandemic. It's your commitment that will ensure that all of us, every one of our fellow citizens, will come back better, stronger, and more prosperous than ever. And for that, on behalf of the Department of Labor, you have my sincerest thanks. And as a fellow veteran, I want to personally thank you all for your commitment and for the vital work you do every single day. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Assistant Secretary Rodriguez, for your leadership and your commitment to helping end veteran homelessness. We're going to shift the conversation for just a moment from employment and income to talking about some of the other vital supports necessary. So it is now my pleasure to introduce Kevin Miller, NCHB's Development Associate. Kevin?
Welcome, everyone, to Day 2, Connections to Employment, Income, and Support. My name is Kevin Miller, and I'm a United States Marine Corps combat veteran and the Development Associate with NCHB. Today's theme is one that hits home for me. Several years ago, during the fallout of the Great Recession, I found myself in a similar situation many of our veteran clients face. I was unemployed and couch surfing. I didn't find the help I needed till a veteran peer of mine referred me to one of NCHB's member organizations, Swords to Plowshares in San Francisco. They helped me get back on my feet with employment, legal assistance to upgrade my VA claim, and got me into permanent housing by utilizing the SSVF program. Today, you'll learn more about promoting employment opportunity and connecting veterans to income supports that are absolutely life-saving and instrumental in improving their lives. Trust me, I know. One topic I'd briefly like to touch on is the issue of food insecurity. What is food insecurity? By definition, it is the condition of not having access to sufficient food or food of adequate quality to meet one's basic needs. However, I believe too many people in our country don't realize that they are food insecure because they might not be starving or hungry all the time. In a country as rich as ours, it shouldn't have to get to that point that you realize you are food insecure and need help. Nearly 1.5 million veterans in the U.S. are living below the federal poverty line, and an additional 2.4 million veterans are living paycheck to paycheck. And these are the numbers that were out pre-pandemic. So we can only assume that issue has gotten worse. Estimates of food insecurity range widely, ranging from 6 to 25%. But nearly half of homeless and formerly homeless veterans are food insecure. Food insufficiency is found to increase the probability of reporting delayed or missed care by nearly 16%. It increases the probability of reporting poor health by over 12% and increases the probability of positive screens for anxiety and depression by over 15%. Among veterans and households with incomes below the poverty line, only 4 in 10 were in SNAP recipient households. That means we can do better to connect our veterans to vital programs like SNAP. We know that SNAP participation reduces the likelihood of being food insecure. We also know that it is associated with lower healthcare spending among low-income adults, and that it has a positive effect on mental health. So today, let's learn together about what we can do to better serve our homeless veterans and make food insecurity an issue of the past. Next, you'll hear from someone who is much more knowledgeable about this issue than myself. And I'd like to introduce you to our next speaker, Rada Muthaya, CEO of Capital Area Food Bank. As CEO, she leads a team that distributes over 45 million meals of good, healthy food directly and indirectly through a network of 450 partners to more than 400,000 food insecure people in the greater Washington region each year. Everybody, let's welcome Rada. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for the introduction, and I'm so pleased to join you today to discuss such an important topic. The food bank is the anchor of the hunger relief infrastructure in the greater Washington region. Our mission is to help our neighbors thrive by creating more equitable access to food and opportunity through community partnerships. I'll speak a bit more specifically on what we do in a moment, but first I'll address why we do it. While our nation's capital region is home to great wealth and power, it is also a region characterized by inequity, where many people are experiencing significant economic hardship. Even before the pandemic, Kevin mentioned this earlier, nearly 400,000 people weren't always sure where their next meal would come from. And we know that over the past year and a half, those numbers have risen substantially by 50% or more at times. We also know that far too many of the individuals who are struggling to put food on the table are men and women who have served our country as members of the U.S. military. According to latest data that's available, there's a veteran living in over 20% of the households served by the food bank. That's 1 in 5 households. That is perhaps less surprising when considering that DC has one of the highest veteran unemployment rates in the country, just about 11%, as well as the second highest veteran poverty rate in the country at almost 14%, second only to Puerto Rico. No one should go hungry in our community, and that certainly includes our nation's veterans. The food bank exists to help address these significant problems of food insecurity in our region. We do this to a two-pronged approach. The first prong is to enable people to get the nutritious food that they deserve today by supplying food to a network of hundreds of local nonprofit partners, soup pantries, kitchens, and other community-based organizations. While there is no one brick and mortar partner to work with in terms of providing all of our needs, we distribute food directly to the community through school-based programs, farmers markets, senior centers, children's after-school meal programs, homeless shelters, and other transitional housing organizations and partnerships within military institutions. Over the past year, we've provided about 75 million meals worth of food to people in communities across DC, Maryland, and Virginia. That's nearly 2.5 times our pre-pandemic levels of distribution. Meeting immediate food needs is critical because for those facing food insecurity, life is full of constant, impossible choices. These can include decisions about whether to purchase food or pay for rent, utilities, medical costs, childcare, or any number of basic life expenses. When household budgets are tight, food and the budget for food tends to be cut the most. There are many reasons, and this is one reason that contributes to veterans who may have just recently been housed or have been found to be particularly high risk of food insecurity. Suddenly, there are a different set of competing expenses and not enough money to cover them. With some additional support, impossible trade-offs between eating and other things don't have to happen. In addition to our existing nonprofit partners that serve the veteran community, we've been proud to set up food distributions that reach veterans, as well as active duty military members in need, at several military institutions across the region, including Fort Belvoir, Fort Myer, the USO Warrior and Family Center at Naval Support Center in Bethesda, Joint Base Andrews, and Marine Corps Base in Quantico. As the food bank continues to develop its programming for both veterans and active duty service members, we're exploring options for better tailoring our offerings at these distributions to the specific demographic needs of those who attend, including factors like household composition, dietary and cultural needs, and transportation barriers. Across all of our network, the goal is to be as responsive to as many unique needs of our neighbors facing food insecurity. In the long term, though, it takes more than a meal to address food insecurity. That's why the second prong of our work is to partner with nonprofit organizations to pair food with other services that can ensure and allow for greater economic stability and permanent pathways out of hunger. These include programs that provide education, skill development, and job training, and healthcare. For instance, by partnering with the Workforce Development Program, we're ensuring that participants can leave their classes with a bag of groceries every week, which make it easier to stay in the program when time and finances are tight. In the Food Bank's new hunger report, which we just issued last week, we shared the results of a nearly 2,000-person survey of the people that we serve. Those individuals identified many of the barriers they face to having enough food, and they include having access to jobs that pay a living wage and have adequate benefits, knowing how to access government benefits, and having to seek services in different locations. It's clear that every sector in our region can play a role in creating more sustainable solutions to food insecurity and enabling greater opportunity for more people. The public sector can expand access to programs like SNAP, Kevin mentioned this earlier, with a critical lifeline for millions in our country. The private sector can work with organizations that provide job training to help build pipelines for quality employment at living wages, providing benefits and creating opportunities for advancement. The nonprofit sector can work more collaboratively, integrating our services more seamlessly so that people seeking support aren't forced to go to many different locations to get the help they need. All people deserve the food that they need to thrive, and that's especially true of our nation's veterans, who have given so much already to us as a country. We're proud of the role we've been able to play in supporting this community. And with the support of partners like the Bob Woodruff Foundation and the USO, we think we can do so much more. But we know there is more to do, and it's forums like this that can help raise these important issues so that we can continue to make progress and form partnerships that will enable more lasting change. So thank you for making space for this important conversation, for highlighting the need when it comes to housing, food security, to enable stronger and more sustainable pathways for our veterans.
Thank you, Rada, and the Capital Area Food Bank for all that you do to help veterans and others experiencing hunger, both in the short term and long term. We've heard so many things today about the importance of partnership and collaboration to ensure that veterans have access to the housing, income, and other supports they need for long-term stability. We have a bunch of sessions today that are going to talk about many of these things. We have one session on connecting to benefits that includes a conversation about VA benefits, but also SNAP that you heard about earlier from both of our speakers. We also have a session on promoting job quality and employment opportunities, one on creating positive and strong matches that can last between employers and veterans experiencing or at risk of homelessness, and another session on the basics of employment services that are offered by both the VA and the Department of Labor. So please make sure you look in the app and and choose the session that are most interesting to you. It's now my pleasure to award a few of NCHB's awards today. And the first award that I get to hand out is for Outstanding Member. And the winner of Outstanding Member this year is an organization that went above and beyond in response to the COVID pandemic. That organization is Fast Forward in Columbia, South Carolina. When word of the pandemic first came out and folks were closing and veterans weren't able to come in and get services, Fast Forward took a proactive approach both to serving veterans, but also to protecting them, keeping them safe, and also keeping their staff safe. They revolutionized the way that they provided employment services to the veterans in their community, incorporating technology, putting all of their content online, connecting to veterans through Kindles and other tablets and phones, and really being that lifeline for veterans who were often isolated during this time. So in recognition of your enduring work to end veteran homelessness in South Carolina and sharing those practices across the United States, Fast Forward is the NCHB 2020 Outstanding Member Organization. Congratulations to Fast Forward. Next, the next award that I have is what we call an Unsung Hero Award. And the unsung heroes are those folks who are out every day doing the hard work of serving our veterans, but aren't often in the position to be recognized for that work. Elizabeth Stone from Veterans Inc. started with Veterans Inc. as a volunteer in July of 2014. And since that time, she's had a number of different roles within the organization. Liz is tireless in her efforts to support veterans, as demonstrated recently by the response to a veteran that called into NCHB's own helpline. This was an aging veteran, Mr. B. He was 72 years old. And Liz was able to connect to him, support him, give him what he needed, and allowed him to maintain his dignity while he was experiencing homelessness. She was able to connect him to housing and has done similar things for many other aging veterans in her community. So in recognition of your enduring work to end veteran homelessness, your personal commitment, we want to recognize Elizabeth Stone as an unsung hero for NCHB 2021. Congratulations, Elizabeth. And last but not least, the last award I have for this morning is another unsung hero. This is Allison Poole, who's Director of Veteran Services at Hope Atlanta. Hope Atlanta is a very large SSVF program that serves a number of veterans, and Allison is in charge of a staff that's serving all of these folks. And as you can imagine, they've been pretty overwhelmed with the need in their community during the pandemic. Despite this, Allison is always available to NCHB staff when we reach out to try and find out what's going on with the veteran. If she doesn't know herself, she connects with her staff and she responds quickly with an update of what that veteran's status is, what's going on. And in some cases, if a veteran has fallen through the cracks, she proactively immediately gets with her staff and reaches out to that veteran to find out what's going on and make sure the veteran is getting the support that he or she needs. In those rare cases when Hope Atlanta is not able to provide direct services to that veteran because of eligibility requirements or something else, Allison is always ready with a list of other partners, other resources in the area that can help that veteran to make sure that veteran gets the support that they need. So in recognition of her personal commitment to assisting veterans and ending veteran homelessness, Allison Poole is also recognized as the NCHB 2021 Unsung Hero. Congratulations to all three of our award winners, Fast Forward, Elizabeth Stone, and Allison Poole. We appreciate you. We thank you for everything you do on behalf of veterans. And with that, that's the end of our opening session today. We hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Please reach out and thank you all. Have a great day.